caffeine, something that we are human being have every single day, and we don't even know that it existed. So let's begin. So what is caffeine? Caffeine is a chemical that's often found in beverages such as energy drinks that you drink every day, like Red Bull, Sting, whatever you can find. Caffeine pills, because people having trouble with staying awake usually take these pills to stay awake for longer. And coffee, cocoa beans, or tea leaf, and well, tea leaves even have caffeine in it. That's why it keeps some people awake. Although it's very small, but tea leaves have caffeine also. So how does caffeine keeps us awake? One of the factors we have to mention before it is adenosine. So what is adenosine? Adenosine is a chemical compound in our brain that helps us with modulating our sleep schedule and our energy distribution. But with being that adenosine is in our brain, it has its own receptor. And what caffeine does is that it has its own molecule that fights for the spot with the adenosine, with the adenosine, so that, as you can see here, that when the adenosine is in the receptor, the dopamine, there is another compound called dopamine that it couldn't go in. And what dopamine does is that it makes us more happy and makes it more alerted to everything. Being that it both can fit in the receptor, we can see that the molecule of caffeine and adenosine is quite similar to each other. So that's why it can fit in the receptors, which when caffeine is in the receptor, it facilitates the dopamine so that it has a spot now, and it helps others keep being awake. So let's go into the effects and drawbacks of this. Being that caffeine is widely used by people, it has its own effects, right? Its effects being that it helps people being more alerted and focused to everything that they are being surrounded with. It makes people more happier. As you can see, some people needed caffeine in everyday work so that they can be more alerted and be more happier when they work with others. Some, for example, the athletes that we see every day, they drink coffee so that they can help with their form, because they feel more energized and they can work better, have better work rate, which caffeine also help with its effect of helping fat burns also, which indulge the athletes and citizens to work out more. And one of it's more. And the last thing that it helps is that it reduces the risk of having Alzheimer's and Parkinson, as it's a very common disease to older people nowadays when they're getting older. Now we have mentioned a lot of effects, right? But it also has drawbacks. One of its main drawbacks is that it creates more anxiety to us. And being that we have more anxiety, we would, when we go to sleep, the anxiety keeps on going. Being that it keeps on going, it overstimulates our brain, and it makes us think about a lot of stuff, which keeps up our mind at night. We can't focus on sleeping. We think about too much stuff that we can't just fall asleep. Then there is the increased urination, which could correlate a bit to the insomnia, because, well, you can't focus on sleeping because you need to go and pee. Then it also affects to a lot of symptoms when we're older, like blood pressure. A lot of elderlies have high blood pressure because of their habits of having caffeine every day, like tea. Even though tea is a bit little, but caffeine, or sometimes energy drinks, because they drink a lot of it. And, well, diarrhea also, actually. So after all this, can you quit using caffeine. And what happened after you quit? Well, you can most definitely quit caffeine, like when you can quit being an addict, then you can quit having caffeine. So what happens? Well, after you quit, your adenosine cells start to work overtime, which overtime, because the caffeine is gone and the receptors are still there. More receptors being still there, being that adenosine works overtime. So adenosine working overtime means that we will get the symptoms of having headaches, tiredness, and depressed moods, which will affect our daily lives for a bit. I'd say about a week or two after it sets in, then we will feel then all the extra receptors will go away and we will live our normal life again. Thank you.